Everyone seems to be making money online nowadays through these things called high income skills. But what actually are they and how do they work? Well, today I'm actually going to be going down through the funnel of remote sales or remote closing to be more specific. In today's video, I'm going to break down what is remote closing, what skills do you need to learn in order to become a remote closer, how to actually get that training as well, how to land a role, how to know which one's good, maybe bad. My experience with remote closing and being a remote closer myself, having replaced my income through remote closing, as well as how this actually applies in the real live market today in terms of a business sense. So jumping straight into it, I wanted to sort of break down why remote closing seems to be really popular right now in comparison to, the trades or university, in my opinion, just breaking it down in a little bit more depth. But what is prevalent right now and what's been prevalent for so long is the fact that a lot of people think that university and the trades are the only two routes, especially in Australia. This is especially what I experienced anyways, is majority of people will spend 3 to 4 years of their life at university or doing a trade. After that 4 year period of getting qualified or getting certified in your chosen field at university, the earnings typically are around 60 to 90 grand a year. That's a 4 year period of having to work between jobs as a uni student, having to put a roof over your head essentially because, you're not getting paid to do uni, you're paying for uni. Or in a trade sense, you're spending 4 years on apprentice wages and learning the skills to then finally be on the big bucks. And in today's cost of living crisis with Australia, the big bucks aren't really the big bucks anymore, let's be real. But in my personal experience going down, the most common route really in Australia, I went down the trade route. But initially, when I came out of school, I actually did have 4 university offers in front of me that I could have taken. But in my eyes, it just wasn't going to achieve the financial goals, the time freedoms, all of the freedoms that I really, really did want and desired were not going to be achieved in either one of these routes. But I did actually go down this route eventually to fund the next step for me, obviously becoming a remote closer, which you've got to take it as it is. Like it's just one of those things, especially coming out of school, you kind of have to do until you obviously get to the point where you might want to do something else. And that was certainly my experience anyways. But moving on. Meanwhile, what I mentioned before, people are learning these things called high income skills or sales to be specific, what we're covering in this video in particular. So this one high income skill of sales, you can learn it and pick it up in 6 to 12 months. It's not to say you can't learn it quicker or it might take longer. Typically, that's what it takes. It took me 6 months to pick up the skill of sales, actually land a remote sales job, and actually fully replace my income online. And many other people are doing the exact same from their laptops, hence the word remote, right? So complete beginners. I myself was a complete beginner. There are plenty of people that I'm going to show you guys today as well that were also complete beginners, knew nothing about sales in terms of communication, cadence, tonality, and persuasion, all skills that you need in order to become a successful and confident closer. I wanted to sort of break down the money side of things as well as the longevity of remote closing in particular. So remote sales, it does equal the big bucks, and we're going to break it down in further depth here, but lucrative compensation at entry level. So remote sales roles, especially in high ticket and enterprise environments, offer compelling earnings. Entry level positions, you can be expecting to earn around 70 to 100 grand a year. Mid-market, 120, upwards of 250. Enterprise, obviously the higher end, 280 to 495. And then elite, if you are really, really good at closing, you're a really, really good salesperson, you can get to the point where you can actually earn up to 600 plus $1,000 a year. Now, high ticket closers in particular often earn around 6-figure incomes. Hitting quota in remote closing roles typically leads to incomes over 100 grand a year. Now, I have a lot of people in particular reach out to me, talk about, what about the longevity of this? As we know, a lot of jobs are getting, replaced by AI, or a lot of jobs are no longer needed because of the remote nature. But in terms of the remote jobs opportunity by the year 2030, I Googled it, is around 92 million jobs will move digital or remote, in other words, basically indicating that, since COVID, there was a massive shift, as we all know. A lot of people realize, screw this, I want to work at home. I don't want to be clocking into a job site or going onto site and having to work that way. So with that in mind, a lot of these jobs like sales reps, even appointment setters, there's plenty of roles out there, jobs out there that are actually moving remotely because of the massive shift in the market due to COVID. So with that in mind, positioning yourself where you can learn the skill of sales, you can take advantage of this 92 million jobs that are going remote by 2030. Moving on, I wanted to show you guys some proof of concept just for you all inside the community that I'm in myself. The first one being my boy James. This guy was an ex-tradie. He used to work as a tradie, a clock in, clock out, 9 to 5 style of job. As he goes on to mention in here, fighting himself out of bed, fighting traffic, clocking in for the 9 to 5 job that just didn't light a fire under him. Much like me as well, and so many other people who have picked up remote closing, were initially in jobs that were of the 9 to 5 nature, trades or at uni. I'll cover some more very soon, but James in particular, he made $6,000 a week in a single week as a closer, just from the skill of sales. He only needed the one skill to make this amount of money in just 7 days. Now, another one that I also wanted to show you guys, this guy's name's TK. He's a Kiwi fella who also knew nothing about sales. There is a recurring theme with a lot of these guys, and even myself in general, is we technically knew nothing about sales, knew nothing of the sort. Tonality, cadence, objection handling, all of the skills, the subcategories to make a successful and confident remote closer. I didn't know that. TK didn't know that. James didn't know that. And Chawong, the one that I'm about to cover, also didn't know that. So it just goes to show these skills are easily picked up, even if you are a beginner. But TK made 3.6 New Zealand dollars in a single week. Basically goes on to say that he didn't use content, just pure sales. So he didn't have to post himself online. We will go over a bit of the posting in a bit, but he didn't have to post any content, and he essentially picked up these skills in 3 months. So less than I did. So it just goes to show again, like, these skills are easily picked up quicker if you can put your mind to it. And I mean, TK is a perfect example of that. Originally having a goal of earning $2,000 in 1 week, he almost doubled it. And like he says, if you can actually put your mind to something with pure hunger and opportunity, you'll get anywhere with sales in particular and learning that skill. I also wanted to show you another one. This is the last one that I want to show you guys, is my boy Chawong. Now, this guy is an ex-uni student who knew that clocking into uni, studying a degree that he really just didn't see himself doing, he knew he was meant for more. And this guy made $7,000 AUD in 7 days, much like myself. TK as well as James just didn't know much about sales, but knew there was more to life than just clocking into that job. And eventually he took the leap, went into learning sales itself, made $7,000 in 7 days from the comfort of his home using his laptop. And he goes on to say it didn't even take him that much, 2 months. 2 months to get to that point. So once again, it shows you, like, these skills are easily picked up if you can put your mind to it and be hungry, much like TK said. So the next thing I want to break down, go into further depth, is remote closing itself. So remote closing, what is it and how does it actually work? Remote closing is just using the skill of sales. So the skill of sales is obviously a high income skill that is needed by businesses in order to sell a product or service and convert those leads into buying customers. So to become a remote closer, you must learn the skill of sales. You must learn how to communicate, how to handle objections, persuasion, active listening. You essentially help someone make a buying decision by solving their pain or problem with your solution. Now, remote, because obviously you'll be taking calls on things like Zoom, over the phone, or Instagram, basically online formats where you're just talking to a person, much like you talk to your mum or your dad, but you're actually using your skill to essentially get them to come to a decision to buy the product or service or not. That is your job as a salesperson. You're not pushing this person to actually make a buying decision based on manipulation, and that's one of the tactics that you don't want to obviously dive into with sales. And that's why it's really, really, really important to actually understand these skills, because you're understanding where they're coming from, what their pain and problem is, and whether your solution actually fixes that by investing into it. Now, I wanted to show you some real world applications really quick. So I'm sure a lot of people have heard evidence-based training. It's got 700,000 followers. Sam Millsap is another one with 390,000 followers, or Nathan Nazareth with 900,000 followers. Now, Adam Sullivan, who runs evidence-based training, is a nutrition and training plan, fat loss, muscle gain planner. So he basically creates programs or information that his followers, his 700,000 followers, can get access to if they choose to buy. Sam Millsap actually coaches. Sounds a bit funny, but the play on words there, he actually coaches people to scale up to $5,000 to $30,000 a month, provides them with the training, the resources to actually get there. Nathan Nazareth is actually in the branch of e-commerce. So he helps people essentially build e-com stores. And the thing that all of these guys have in common is they all sell a product or a service that essentially helps solve a pain and problem. Now, because these guys obviously have so many followers, so many people that would want to buy their product or service, they don't actually have time to go through these leads or potential buyers and essentially close them. That's where you come in as the salesperson to actually close the deal. To become a remote closer, to actually work with Sam, with Adam, or even Nathan, we need to be trained to become a remote closer. So the two routes that you can actually take to become a remote closer is the original one, the first one that I actually took myself, was the free routes. Now, the reason these free routes work is because there's so much information on YouTube. Guys like Alex Hormozi has literal frameworks that you can use. There's so many free resources out there on things like YouTube to watch through, actually take notes, and essentially just take in information on sales, how it actually works that way. But the thing with free routes that I'm going to break down is, of course, it's going to cost you nothing. You'll still build a reasonable amount of skills and understanding about sales, but the catch is you won't have anyone to answer your questions. There is no structure or step-by-step process, and you don't actually have a teacher or a mentor dedicated to your success. Essentially saying is the free routes equals time spent actually building the skills, the knowledge, and actually landing a role itself. Because you're going out there like a lone ranger, a lone wolf kind of, you are essentially responsible for your own success. You don't have anyone there to keep you accountable. You don't actually have a structure to work through on what you should actually be working on in order to build the skills. So I did eventually, realize like that this route was only going to hold me back because of the success that I wanted was limited by the fact that I couldn't actually understand where I was going wrong. What areas or what parts about sales was I not understanding in order to get to that next step to replacing my income, landing a role, things like that. So eventually I did go down the pay route. This is an investment route into things like a sales agency or coaching, a mentorship, something that is there that will actually have a structure or a breakdown of how you can actually improve and become a remote closer. Now, this path is obviously going to cost you money to gain access. You'll build the understanding and skill a lot quicker with structured training. You'll have teachers, mentorship, and it's a lot easier to know what direction to move in. So essentially with that, paid equals speed. The quicker you're going to actually get to the point where you're making money, you're actually successful as a remote closer. Right, so now that we're actually trained, we've gone through the YouTube, we've gone through a paid route, whatever it is, we need to start looking for a role, right? So to begin looking for a role, there are 4 main ways that you can actually do this. The first one being job boards, things like Seek, Indeed, remotejobs.io. You can actually go onto these websites, literally search up remote closing right now. There are plenty of opportunities out there that will pay you a base salary, commissions, whatever it is. They're actual roles that you can land as a remote closer to make money from. Now, another way you can actually do this is through direct outreach. So people like Adam Sullivan, Nathan Nazareth, Sam Millsap, those guys actually have a team of salespeople that help them convert their leads. You can actually directly outreach to these people to be a part of their team. And I'm going to go through exactly how you would reach out to one of those people, stand out, and actually land a role through direct outreach. The third one is obviously networking. If you know people that are working as a remote closer, have worked as a remote closer, know a business that are looking for remote closers, they trust you, they know who you are. That is one of the strongest routes to actually land one of these roles. The last one being obviously sales agencies. So the thing with sales agencies is they'll actually train you up. They'll give you the training, the structured guide to work through in order to build the skills, number one. Number two is also they'll help you find a role 9 times out of 10 outside of the sales agency itself, but they can also offer you a role with the sales agency. Sales agencies need closers in order to get people to learn the skill of sales through them. To actually land a role, we must ensure this 3-step process is actually followed. So step number 1 being you must look the part. I cannot stress this enough. Your profile on socials like Instagram, Facebook, etc. need to be clean. Now, your clean profile picture, something literally just expressing you that looks like you. It is a first impression that lasts, and it is really important because, I mean, bosses or people that actually want you on the team, they're going to look at your social media. It's almost like a universal checkbook to say, okay, I trust him. Like I can see that he's a normal human. He's an actual person. So that way, when they check your socials, you don't want to look scammy. Nothing sexual or drugs, alcohol, criminal behavior of any kind on your social media for obvious reasons. No one wants to hire a remote closer, someone who's obviously skillful with sales, who is representing this kind of lifestyle or these kind of things on their social media. You just won't land the role, full stop. Now, number 2 being ensure your outreach message stands out. So this is what I was sort of talking about with reaching out to Instagram, Facebook in particular. And this is where most people fumble because they copy and paste bland, I'm looking for opportunities. This will get you ignored, and creators or businesses think you're actually like the rest, which is not what we want. And we know you're a special person, right? So you want to actually stand out and express that, I guess, individuality that you do have as a remote closer, because no remote closer is going to be the same. Everyone has a different style of closing. Some have higher level, some have lower. But if you look like everyone else, the chances are they won't actually look your way, because you want to actually pattern interrupt a creator or business's standard search for closers by using different strategies and messages. So do this by, instead of texting, actually send a 30 to 60 second video introducing yourself. It can be longer, but in my opinion, I think a 30 to 60 second video is perfect. It's fine. It's short. It's really, really easy. I mean, it takes you 60 seconds to record one. And people rarely get personalized videos. It shows you actually care. Instantly showing, you have tonality, confidence, sales presence. Those are all attributes of a remote closer, all skills that you would learn as a remote closer. And when you're actually reaching out to these people, you are obviously putting a face to the name. They can actually see you. They can see the skills that you have compared to sending a text message. The actual ability to talk, the actual ability to show off those skills, it's going to come across a lot more genuine. It's going to come across like you care, you actually want this role, and it separates you from the rest, which is what we want. I'll give you guys a quick example of an outreach message. So this one actually provides value. What I mean by this is you are actually going to this person who has a business selling a product or service and showing them that you can provide value to them, because at the end of the day, this is what they want. So a quick win I noticed for your funnel. This is obviously email format, but hey, my name, I saw you're running ads for a program or product, say it's fitness. I saw you're running ads for a fitness product. One thing I noticed is a quick fix idea. If you notice anything that they could quickly fix. I actually specialize in helping businesses like yours close more deals from the leads you already have. I'd love to share how I'd approach your sales pipeline, no strings attached. Would you be open for a chat? So already in this message, right, we are providing the business or the influencer with value. We're showing them we understand their pipeline, we understand their sales process, and we understand how we can actually go in there and provide them value, give them more money as well as ourselves, right? This is just a quick example. There's plenty of other ways out there that you can look at. ChatGPT would give you plenty of examples to actually stand out. This is just a quick one that I whipped up myself. I wanted to break down exactly why remote closing and sales is exploding right now in 2025. Remote closing is the best landscape to get into right now. No questions asked. It's where the jobs are. Sales and marketing is number 2 biggest remote job category in the world, only behind tech. Over 15% of all job postings are remote, and sales roles dominate that chunk. So 15% of job postings globally are remote. Like the 92 million that I showed you guys before on Google, 15% of that is already in 2025 remote jobs. So sales roles obviously dominate that chunk. Businesses need closers because ads and leads mean nothing if nobody converts them. If you actually have a bunch of buying customers coming through interested in the product or service that businesses or influencers have, these leads need to be converted, and that's where you come in as the closer. So it is in high demand. Now, it pays big fast. Obviously, what we broke down before with the numbers itself, and typically closers get paid around 10 to 20% per sale. So, for example, $5,000 deal, which is a high ticket offer, would put $500 to $1,000 in your pocket from a 45-minute to 60-minute conversation over the phone or Zoom. Closing just 8 to 10 deals a month can actually push you into a 6-figure income. So the 60-minute call 8 times, it's very, very doable when you think about it and you actually break it down. You can learn it quicker than a degree or a trade, which is obviously like what we broke down earlier in the video. A uni taking 3 to 4 years, huge debt, 60 to 80K for the job itself. Trades, 3 to 5 years, training, capped income, physical work. Sales, 3 to 6 months. TK learnt it in 3. Chuang learnt it in 2. I'm pretty sure James only learnt it in 1. Myself, I took 6 months still working a job. But you'd see the comparison of, 3 to 4 to 5 years compared to 3 to 6 months. And you can start earning 5 to 10K a month pretty quickly. It kind of shows you the difference between the two. It is all well and good to know that there are roles out there, but it is also very important to know which ones are a good role. So what to look for when actually landing a role. We want to be working with commissions. Percentage of sales closed is essentially what that means. Obviously, if it's a 5 to 10% commission, like we mentioned before, a 5K product or service, you get $500 for just closing one of those deals because it's commission based. Now, we want to be dealing with inbound, not outbound leads, essentially warmer leads through inbound. And outbound is just, it's a hassle. It really is. Inbound is really, really what you want. It's a lot easier, it's less stressful. Now, high ticket products is obviously what we want to be leaning into as well. These range from $2,000 to $20,000, can be more. The higher the price is, obviously, the more you're going to make. So with commissions, the more the product goes up, the commission still stays the same, but your size of, I guess, the chunk that you're taking out from the purchase itself is going to be larger when the product is higher valued. Just wanted to finish off on my story as well, just to give you guys a bit more proof of concept, because I understand, remote closing, it's a big buzzword and not a lot of people understand sales in general, like myself when I first started. So in the beginning, I actually knew nothing about sales whatsoever, much like Chuang, James, TK as well. I couldn't string a sentence together on a call, let alone use tonality, cadence, communication, or even use objection handling. I just knew nothing of the sort. This was me back when I was still working my job, grinding away late nights, trying to actually build the skills themselves. Obviously, it took me 6 months to get there, but I initially used free resources like YouTube to learn the skills, like Alex Hormozi's guide that I showed you before. I built a little bit of confidence in sales and skills through the YouTube route, but I got to the point where I didn't know how to land a role, build on the skills even more, and apply them. I didn't even have someone to practice with or role play with. So with this, I wanted to show you guys basically when you're actually on a sales call, right? You're talking face to face or over the phone, actually with a person. So that requires practice. And I had a bit of knowledge about sales, but had no one to practice with. You're kind of a lone wolf, lone ranger. And that's one of the biggest things that I found when I was actually in sales encounters. I wasn't using the skills that I had learned book smart, but I hadn't actually learned how to apply them into a real world scenario or a real world call. So some examples of the free routes themselves is Alex Hormozi has plenty and plenty of free guides out there. He actually has a framework that you guys can follow as well. But the Ultimate Sales Training for 2025 full course. Jeremy Miner is another one who teaches sales. Plenty of value in those two videos themselves. There's plenty more out there, but this is the original route that I went down when I was still in my job, trying to figure out how to learn these skills. Obviously, eventually came to the conclusion that my success was limited because the time I was spending through trial and error was slowing me down. I was missing a mentor who had the skills that I could learn from, and I was missing a structure to learn the skills. I didn't know anything about landing a role. So I wanted to sort of break this down a little bit more, right? When I say the trial and error was slowing me down because I was going through YouTube, I was not knowing where I was actually going wrong, because being new to it, it's kind of like learning a new language. And because I didn't have someone there to tell me where I was going wrong, I constantly felt like I was going in the right direction. But in reality, sometimes I was actually moving backwards, but I didn't know that because I was completely new to it, right? So that is the difficult part about going down free routes. Obviously, it is completely up to you how you go about learning these skills, because I myself actually went down the free route trying to figure it out that way. But eventually I came to the conclusion that I needed to invest in a sales agency to actually teach me the skills in a little more depth, actually practice those skills, and eventually land me a role to replace my income. So I eventually obviously landed a remote closing role with a sales agency. And after learning the skill of sales for 6 months, once landing that role, I was able to use the skill of sales and the role of remote closing to replace my income fully online, quit my job, and start working from home full time. So that wraps everything up that I wanted to cover in remote closing for you guys, basically breaking everything down from landing a role, actually making money online, the differences in the two trainings. Now, I understand for you guys, there is a lot of it's unknown with sales in general if you are a beginner like myself. I understand, free routes are always out there, but like I said in the video, if you feel like the way that I did, you felt like you didn't have much guidance or you feel like you need that extra help, My DMs are always open for you guys as well. If you guys feel like you need to reach out to me, ask me any questions about anything I mentioned in this video, or you need some further guidance, some further training with the same training that I went through, please hit me up in the DMs. I'm always open to chat and talk about these things to help you guys as well. And just let me know. But other than that, guys, I appreciate you watching the video. I appreciate you guys staying till the end. If you guys have any questions, once again, don't hesitate to reach out. But I'll see you all in the next one.